Today's Namaste Yoga continues our focused living series with letting go. Hello and welcome to episode 299 of Namaste Yoga. I'm Dr. Melissa West and thank you so much for joining us today. We're going to start in reclined bound angle pose today. I want to thank Dusky Leaf for my props, and I'll get you set right up in that pose so you can rest back while you hear the testimonial, and I do a few announcements to get going today, but you can get going in a restorative pose to begin. So you're going to need a bolster today. You're going to need 2 blocks. So while you rest back, you're going to put the soles of your feet together. Open your knees up and let your knees be supported by the blocks and rest over your bolster. And if you don't have a bolster, you could use a rolled up blanket here, or a sleeping bag would work well, or stack some pillows. If your chin is higher than your forehead, you might need to put a pillow on top of your bolster. Also, you could use some pillows stacked instead of blocks here as well. So while you're resting there, I will just continue with our show opening. Just thought I'd get you right into a yoga pose. I want to thank Squeezed Yoga Clothing for my clothes. Today I'm wearing a long-sleeved, jewel-toned purple dancing Ganesh top, and I chose it because Ganesh is the remover of obstacles, so I thought it worked well for our theme of letting go, and I'm wearing long black leggings, which I love for doing yoga in. I also want to invite you to join us live on Saturday, September 10th at noon Pacific for our special episode of Namaste Yoga for our 300th episode of Namaste Yoga. We're going to do a special 90-minute live episode. For the first half hour, I will speak a little bit about the beginnings of Namaste Yoga. I'll highlight the history, our last 6 years, how Namaste Yoga came about. I'll also take your questions, and we'll hear some highlights from some of our Namaste Yogis from the last 6 years, and how Namaste Yoga has impacted you over the last 6 years. So please do send me your questions, your stories, video testimonials, photographs from what you've received from Namaste Yoga in the past 6 years. So if you have anything that you want me to cover, that you've been curious about Namaste Yoga, make sure you let me know ahead of time so I can cover that. You can send your questions to info@melissawest.com. And another great way to ask your question would be through SpeakPipe right on my website. So if you just click that, there's a little tab right on my website where you can just voice record your message by voicemail, and I'll get it that way too. Okay, and it would be great, better yet, you can even just join us at 10 a.m. noon Pacific on October the 10th, and celebrate with us live our 300th episode. We've been giving away a free class every Friday for the past 6 years. It's a huge celebration, and we'd love to have you join us in celebrating that huge occasion for us. I have a testimonial here from, speaking of SpeakPipe, from Jan. So thank you, Jan.
Hello, Melissa. I just want to tell you how much I enjoy watching the yoga as well as doing it and hearing your teachings. You just have such a beautiful place where you live, and you always pick these different locations that are so gorgeous. And today you talked about how you and Tim moved so you could be closer to nature, and I can see why. I really want to come and visit I think you said it's Victoria, British Columbia. It's just so gorgeous there. I just love the settings that you choose, and thank you for choosing such beautiful settings instead of doing it indoors or something. It's just wonderful. Thanks.
Thank you, Jan, so much for that beautiful testimonial. I know we all appreciate so much Tim's beautiful videography and the time he takes to choose these gorgeous locations for us. He chose this one today, and I know we hear from a lot of you every week about how much you appreciate us filming outside and taking the time to choose these locations for you. So thank you for letting us know that is important to you and that it's part of your yogic experience each week with Namaste Yoga. Okay, so you are resting back in bound angle pose over your bolster. And this is part of our class. This is part of opening yourself up it's a very opening pose. It's a heart opener. You're opening up in all of your chakras, really, in your second chakra and your heart chakra. And we're going to do a breath practice here as well. So I want you to focus on your breathing here. So just breathe normally and let your attention come into your breathing here now as you breathe in and out through your nose. And begin by focusing your breath into your belly. And now become aware of your breath at your rib cage. And then bring your focus and awareness to your breath in your upper chest, up right in around your heart center, but also in up towards your shoulders and your armpits. And then we're going to put this breath awareness together in 3 parts. So we're going to breathe into your belly and then pause, breathe into your rib cage and pause, breathe into your upper chest and pause, and then you're going to let it go in one smooth exhalation. So if you have any health conditions that mean that you can't have breath retention, that is holding your breath, then you're just going to keep your breath continuous. You wouldn't have the pauses with it. So you'll know from talking with your doctor if that's the case for you. One particular would be if you're pregnant, then you wouldn't want to do that. So otherwise you can have the pauses. So you're going to breathe into your belly, pause, breathe into your rib cage, pause, breathe into your upper chest, pause and be full of air, and do this in a way that isn't gripping at all. And then exhale with one long, smooth exhalation, just letting it all go. Breathe in belly, pause, breathe in rib cage, pause, breathe in upper chest, pause and be full of air, and then exhale and let it all go. And focus on letting go as you breathe out. Breathe in belly, pause, breathe in rib cage, pause, breathe into your upper chest, Pause. And then breathe out one long, smooth exhalation, letting go as you breathe out. Breathe in belly. Pause. Breathe in rib cage. Pause. Breathe in upper chest. Pause and be full of air. And exhale. And one more breath like that. Breathe in belly. Pause. Breathe in rib cage. Pause. Breathe in upper chest. Pause and be full of air. And then really let your breath go. Focus on that exhalation. Focus on letting go. And then just notice what it feels like to release and let go, what that breath felt like for you. And then from there, you can draw up through your pelvic floor, draw your navel to your spine, bring your knees back together, tuck your chin, roll to your side, and you're going to roll back onto your back. So you can put your props off to your side. We're going to lie on our back. For knee to chest pose, this is a classic pose for letting go. And although this pose is known for relieving physical constipation because it presses on your ascending and descending colon, in this class we're going to be letting go of much more than that. So I'll get you in the pose first and talk about contraindications and modifications, and then we'll talk about all that. Okay, so you're going to draw your right knee into your chest. If you have any knee issues, you want to hold on behind your knee. If you have low back issues, you want to make sure you have your left knee bent. And you really want to feel the pressure of your right leg against your ascending colon along the fleshy part below your rib cage. Okay, and breathe in. Breathe out. Focusing particularly on your exhalation, on letting go. Feel the pressure of your leg on your lower belly. Let your shoulders be heavy and relaxed. Back of your neck long. Your chin and your forehead on the same level, jaw relaxed. And then release and let your right leg down. And you'll draw your left leg in. Again, any knee issues, hold on behind your knee. Low back issues, keep your right leg bent. So as I mentioned before, this pose is great for releasing physical toxins from your body, physical waste. But our body is multidimensional. There's our physical body, but then there's many layers to our body. There's our mental body, there's our emotional body, there's our energetic body, there's our spiritual body. And what we do to one layer of our body affects all layers of our body. So when we let go of physical toxins, physical waste, we're also letting go of emotional toxins, mental toxins, energetic toxins, and spiritual toxins. And then you can release your left leg down. And we're actually going to use your bolster for the next pose as well. So take it down by the left side of your body so that it lines up with your left hip. And if you don't have that, you could stack up some blankets. Just create a pile that looks sort of something like my bolster. You can pause your video to do that. Take your arms out to the side in a soft T. Bend your right leg. You're going to press into your right foot, tuck your left hip under, and then take your right bent leg on top of the bolster so that you're in a reclined twist. So this is great to wring out toxins from your internal organs. So physically, especially from your liver. And it's a great time of year to do that here in the Northern Hemisphere. Fall is a time of gathering in, all the bountiful blessings from the summer. And it's also a time you'll see the leaves are falling here. Tim will probably do some close-up on some leaves at some point in this video, I'm sure. So the trees are also letting go, and we're preparing for hibernation as well for the winter season. However, if you're in the southern hemisphere, it's also the transition into spring right now, and there's also a detoxification process going on there, and the liver is the main organ for spring. So this class is great for either of those transitional seasons. They're both seasons of letting go. In the spring in the southern hemisphere, letting go of anger and frustration, those emotions of the liver. And then you can come back onto your back, press into your right foot, untuck your hip, lengthen out through your right leg. And then you're going to just take that bolster over to the other side. And we'll do the other side, the twist on the other side. Bend your left leg, press into your left foot, tuck your right hip under, and come into your twist on the other side. So you're doing the recline twist on the other side. And so in this twist, you're not only releasing toxins from your internal organs, but it's a great time to let go of past hurts, angers, frustrations, relationships that are no longer serving you. So it's a great time to release your mental and emotional bodies as well. And then you can roll onto your back, press into your left foot, untuck your hips. And depending on your own body, you can either roll to your side to come up to seated, or that would be the best if you have vertigo or anything like that. Or you can put your hand behind your knee, tuck your chin, and rock yourself up like that. So we're going to come up to seated for our seated meditation now, and to receive the teachings for today. So for this, we're going to do the Ganesh Mudra. The Ganesh Mudra is for removing obstacles, so that will help you to let go. And also it's a great mudra for courage and strength, because it takes a lot of courage to let go. We're going to talk about that as we receive the teachings a little bit more when you're in the mudra. So you're going to take your left hand and you're going to turn your palm and face it out, and then you're going to bring your right hand and face it in. Then you make hooks and you hook on and you gently pull apart, and that comes to the level of your heart. So the heart has a lot of courage. And you're going to sit with that, and your spine is straight, your shoulders are over your hips, your ears are over your shoulders, and sit in a comfortable position for you. You could also sit in a chair. Do what works best for you and your body today. It may be a day when you want to sit with your back against the wall as well. So just do what works well for you today. And you can close your eyes for that inward focus. So this, as I said, will invoke Ganesh, the remover of obstacles, to generate feelings of stability too, because when you do a lot of letting go, it can create that sense of groundlessness, and it promotes confidence, courage, and the courage to care for oneself. Throughout this Focused Living series, we have been centered on creating a life of less but better. And this aligns perfectly with the fifth yam of Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, aparigraha. Often this yam focuses on letting go of material possessions, much like the yam of Satya. The second yam focuses on right speech. However, I feel like these are sort of the first level of the understandings of these yams, so we can go deeper with them. You know, the right speech is truthfulness. It's truthfulness in our speech. It's not just truthfulness in our speech. It's truthfulness in our actions, in our life. It's the way, it's being on, living with integrity, right? It's not just our speech. So I feel that the same is true with this yam, that aparigraha, living with few material possessions and taking only what you need, is like the first level of this yam. So since we've been going really deep with this series, we're going to continue to do that with this one as well. So this time, creating focus through aparigraha, it also is going to mean letting go of parts of our identity, relationships, ways of living and being in the world that are no longer working for us. So sure, it's great to go and drop off items from your house that you're no longer using, but I feel like that's like nursery school aparigraha. We've done that. Like, we've been here for 6 years now, so it's time to go to the next level. So as I've mentioned before, that takes time and contemplation to figure out what that means for you, what it means for you to let go of ways of being, parts of your identity, relationships, and ways of living in the world that are no longer working for you. And just like with other things in this series, there may be some things in your life that feel pretty good, but they're not great. So aparigraha isn't just about letting go of things that you don't like. Sometimes you're going to have to let go of things that you like too, in order to get to the really great things in your life. So as I've mentioned before, it's going to take time and meditation, time and journaling, to look at where you're holding on in relationships, where you're holding on in your work life, and where your current behavior isn't working for you. Spiritual teachings remind us that everything is impermanent. All things, our relationships, our identity, our ways of being in the world, are continually changing and will go through many transformations and deaths in our lifetime. When we try to hang on to the way things were with our identity, our work, our way of being in the world, our relationships, we lose our connection with our true self. It prevents us from opening up to our rebirths and the gifts that are poised to enter in next, the next stage of our life. There are far more relationships, work opportunities, and activities in the world than we can commit ourselves to. So aparigraha asks us to filter through the many options available to us, let go of even good options, and choose the best. Aparigraha reminds us that it's not about getting more done. We have to let go of this seductive cultural myth that we can get more done. Instead, we have to ask ourselves, what's getting in the way in my life of knowing my true self in this moment? We tend to value the things that we already are connected with more than they are worth. So we find them difficult to release. You have to ask yourself this question. If I didn't already have this in my life, what would I be willing to exchange in terms of my time to get this in my life? Or in other words, if this wasn't already in my life, what would I be willing to do to get this? And you can do that with work opportunities, with relationships, with, yeah, that's a tough one. You can do that with, with developing your own identity, all sorts of things. You can apply that question to lots of things in your life. Or if I didn't have this opportunity, what would I be willing to do to acquire it? So you can ask yourself those questions in lots of areas in your lives. And these questions are written out in my show notes. If you go to my website, you can click on the link on my website and take a look at those questions, because those are great questions to journal about. Because I know myself, I try to hang on to certain things in my life that I know for darn sure I wouldn't be willing to go out and effort to get them into my life again. So they're very poignant questions, I think, to ask yourself. It takes courage to say no, a real strength of conviction to stay grounded in your truth in the face of social pressure. And saying no it will feel physically, emotionally, and energetically uncomfortable. And courage is the key to letting go. That's why we're using this mudra right now. And that's why we're going to do the standing postures that we're going to do next. Without courage, the choice to let go is only skin deep. We can talk about living a life that really matters, but it really is only the brave that are willing to let go. We have to have a really strong sense of internal clarity of what really matters to us, so that we can have the conviction to say no to what isn't bringing us close to our personal truth. And that's why in our membership community right now, we've spent the last 3 weeks, and we're going to spend one more week in our weekly challenge, and we spent a motivational meetup on determining what your intention is in your life and really connecting to your own personal truth. Because when you have that really strong compass to what's important to you, it's a lot easier to say no to what's not important to you. And I know that a lot of our members have been finding that really helpful to have that barometer in their life. So reflect on these teachings and see what stands out to you, what resonates for you in your life, and begin to form an intention of what you want to create or sustain, release, let go, or rebirth in your life. And then once you've formed your intention, you can release the mudra from your body. And you can start to make your way up to standing. Okay, from standing, you're going to take your feet wide. You're going to turn your toes out to 10 and 2 o'clock, and you're going to sit straight down, pull your knees back, and we're going to do the Goddess Victory Squat with that Ganesh Mudra still. So your left palm turned out, your right palm turned in, and hook your fingers. And this is a great pose to really be grounded in your truth and connected to your courage and your strength. And it's also a pose that invokes the energy of Kali, who's the goddess of transformation. She's a great goddess to call on here, and I want to read you some things that I wrote about her. So this pose will invoke the transformative power of Kali in your life. Goddess pose asks you to integrate and pair opposites required for letting go in your life. So you need a lot of will to let go and also surrender. You need activity, so it's an active choice to let go, but you also need that receptivity. It's that letting go. So when we fully embrace these opposites as part of our whole, they can bring us closer to the union of our true self. Through Goddess Victory Squat, Kali will help you to cut through all the negativity, illusion, and duality. And so that's why I chose this pose. Okay, and then make your way back up to standing and come and stand at the top of your mat. And we're going to do another powerful grounding standing posture to connect you to your strength. So stand and take a big step back with your right foot. You're going to sink down through your front left sit bone and bring both of your arms straight up for warrior one. And I think this pose is really good for facing your life head on and standing in your truth and having the strength of a warrior to say no to what isn't working in your life and the courage to let go. Okay, and then you're going to let that pose out of your body, and we're going to do this same pose on the other side. So you'll take a big step back with your left foot, and your hips are going to face the front short edge of your mat, and you're going to sink down through your front right sit bone. You're going to take both arms straight up, and this pose will just give you that clarity to know what you're releasing and letting go of. And then you can release this pose from your body and come to the top of your mat again. We're going to come into an inversion that takes a lot of strength in your upper body, and it builds that strength in your upper body, which builds around your chest and your arms. And I think it's that strength that's required to have that conviction to say no to what isn't working in your life. Because as I said in the teachings, it's uncomfortable. It's physically, emotionally, it's mentally uncomfortable to say no. So let's take a deep breath in. And then you can exhale and fold forward. And you're going to step back and lower your knees. And from here, you're going to come down onto your forearms, and you're going to bring your forearms parallel so that your wrists and your elbows are equal distance apart, like they're in railroad tracks. And this pose will build strength in your upper body, and also it will create flexibility in your shoulders. So it's a good one to build flexibility in your shoulders. Tuck your toes under, inhale, and exhale, lift your hips. You'll probably be able to lift your hips higher than me because of the lack of range of motion I have in my shoulder right now, but it's a great pose to build strength in your upper body. And then you can slowly lower down. And I'm going to give you an option for your back bend today. We did this pose a couple of weeks ago as well, but it's a really good one for connecting with your there's a lot of fear around letting go, which is absolutely normal because you're letting go into unknown ways of being and a whole new life. Like it's like falling, and falling is very scary. So fear is normal. So this pose, it opens you up to that emotion, and like a lot of things on your yoga mat, if you can practice them first, like if you can practice being open to things that are a little scary on your yoga mat, then it's easier to do things that are a little scary off your yoga mat. That's why we practice yoga, because we can build our courage on the mat, then we can be more courageous off the mat. So one way you could do this pose, I'll show a different modification than I showed the other day, would be to rest over your bolster this way and lie back over it this way. So then your head is barely touching here, and you get the full effect of the back bend here. You could even, that would be nice, you could do the Ganesh Mudra here then as well. Okay. And to come out of that, we're going to roll to your side, because that would be a lot to come out of for your neck any other way. Okay, the other way you can do it is lie down. Take your hands underneath you. Press into your forearms. Lift your chest and rest on the top of your head, and there's hardly any weight on the top of your head. And then to come out, press into your elbows, tuck your chin, and lower down. Rest on your back for a moment, and I'm just going to read to you my intention for that pose. Fear often settles in your heart and your throat center, creating a kind of holding that keeps you from being able to clearly hear your loving voice. So being aware of that which you fear, that which holds you back from taking the necessary steps to release and let go and say no. And so that pose can open you up to that. So from here, bend your knees, roll to your side, and you're going to come up onto all fours and sit back into child's pose. So I'll give you could, if you have your bolster, you can use your bolster for child's pose. And turn your head to one side in child's pose. So this pose allows you to, with letting go, there are losses. So it allows you to grieve your losses. And as you come into this pose, allow yourself to bring a compassion to what you are releasing. Soften any grief that is hardened within you as a way of protecting yourself over time. So let this pose be a time to reflect on and grieve what you're letting go of. And then slowly make your way up to seated. And you're going to sit with your legs straight out in front of you. If you have a folded blanket, it's a great idea to sit up on your folded blanket so that it's easier to roll your pelvis over your leg bones. And you can even take your bolster if your hamstrings are tight and place it underneath your legs. And especially if you have low back issues, any sciatica or herniated disc, please do put something underneath your legs so that your knees are bent. And you're going to fold forward here into Paschimottanasana, or seated forward fold. This pose lets you surrender worry, and it really calms your mind. And also you can really feel the support of the ground underneath you as you let go in this pose. And then slowly make your way up to seated. And you're going to rest back for Shavasana. So if you have a bolster, it's great to use it underneath your knees. You could roll up a blanket and use it underneath your knees as well, especially if you have any low back issues. And rest back with your palms turned up beside you. And you can stay here resting in Shavasana, and I'm going to sit up and share with you a short reading while you're integrating your class in Shavasana. This is a short excerpt from Sri Chinmoy on letting go. There are many things we need to do. One of them is letting go of our unfortunate mistakes, habits, thoughts, and experiences. At times, we also need to let go of other people. We need to move on from the past and look forwards to the future. If we hang on to the unfortunate experiences of the past, this is what we will carry forward into the present. There is a well-known story of the Zen monk who wanted to know why he couldn't gain enlightenment. His master replied, "How can a full cup be filled up? To fill a cup with honey, we must first empty the water from the cup. It is the same with enlightenment. We have to let go of what is in our mind for new, enlightening experiences to enter in." Lao Tzu says, "When I let go of what I am, I become what I might be." So gradually allow your breath to deepen. Begin to wiggle your fingers and toes. Bend your knees. Roll to your right side. And slowly make your way up to seated. And we'll finish with our mantra Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu, to gather in the fruits of our practice, first to bring them into ourselves and then to offer them out into the world. So your left hand is up, your right palm is down, making space with breath and a sigh. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. May all beings be happy and free, and may the thoughts, words, and actions of my own life contribute in some way to the happiness and freedom for all. So thank you for joining us for today's show. If you like today's show, then please press the like button, and you can subscribe to our channel. When you subscribe to your channel, then you will get the new Namaste Yoga showing up in your feed every Friday, so that just makes it a little easier for you. And if you're receiving value from the show, then you can make a donation. We really appreciate those who donate to our show. That helps us to be able to put out a free show like we have been every Friday for the last 6 years, and continue to be able to offer this freely to thousands and thousands of people around the world who really enjoy it. And if making a monetary donation isn't a possibility for you, then that's totally fine. We know that's not possible for everybody. There's lots of ways to contribute. One of the ways you contribute is by leaving comments. That helps other people just like you find us. So you can leave a comment below as well. Comments for this week, a question for comments this week is, what are you letting go of? You can leave that in the comments. Any other comments, questions, or concerns, feedback on the show, we love to hear that too. You can leave your comments at YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, on my website, SpeakPipe, in the membership site. We love to have an ongoing dialogue about your practice. I think that is one of the greatest benefits about Namaste Yoga and the classes in our membership community is that we do have a discussion about your practice. I find when I go to class in a studio, I go to class, I come home, there's no discussion about the practice. So I think that's a really big benefit to what we offer here through Namaste Yoga and the community. So if you'd like to take this practice deeper, we focused on the courage to let go today, and we have a 5-class series to support you in letting go in our membership community. It's actually a 5-class series on bereavement and grief that we put together. It was a request from our members, and although this course is the 5-class yoga series was originally designed to support you in the loss of a loved one, I think it's a really great series to support you through loss and transition of any kind. It doesn't just have to be for when somebody close to you dies. It can be, when you're going through a divorce, when you're going through transition in your life, when you're going through any kind of loss. I've gone to it several times when I'm working through a transition of letting go in my life, because the classes are incredible to support you through the loss, death, transition, rebirth in your life. It was created by request. There are 5 classes. They're short. They're very gentle, because the transitions through loss, letting go, and grief can be really emotional. They allow you to attend to the pain of your loss. They are very grounding. They offer you a way to open to your grief, knowing that your grief is gentle. Grief isn't often gentle, but it's always changing and evolving. And it comes back again and again over time. It's not something that you just do quickly and once. It begins with a class on being gentle with yourself, then a class that talks to you about how the place where you experience your wounds is where your light comes in. It's amazing that through the wounded place, that it's often where our place of compassion is birthed. Then, as I said, there's a class on infinite time and no ambition. So when we're talking about working with loss, it's something that can take a long time, and there's a class that goes into that. There's a class that speaks on allowing your emotions to flow. The more we try to bottle them up, the more difficult it is to get through them. And then there's one that speaks about the cycle of grief, and the stages. There's like the stages of grief, but it's something that's continuous. It's something that comes up. And the biggest losses I've experienced in my life, they come back and back and back, and I recycle through them again and again in my life. So I know I go back to that series again and again. It's one of the most used classes series that I go to in the membership to be with those losses, the big losses that I've dealt with in my life. And so I highly recommend it. I know it's one that has been very impactful for our members. So if you would like support in dealing with transition and dealing with loss and helping to have the courage to deal with letting go, then I highly recommend that series for our members. And if you'd like to be a member of our community, then you can click here below as well. I'm sending you much love from beautiful British Columbia. I do hope you'll join us live next week for episode 300. That will be on October the 10th at noon Pacific. And for those on YouTube, it will actually be on YouTube. We'll be sending out lots of information about that across all different social media. Make sure you're on my mailing list. Make sure on my mailing list we'll be sending stuff out, and it will also be at melissawest.com/300. We want to have a big party and celebrate all of you who have been part of the last 6 years. So sending you much love from beautiful British Columbia. May your joy be as deep as our Pacific Ocean. May you be as strong as our mountains, and may you be as rooted as the trees in our forest. Om Shanti. Namaste.
Melissa would love to hear your questions and thoughts. Please leave your comments below the video. Thank you for your reviews on iTunes and YouTube. Your reviews help us to share yoga and a yoga lifestyle with others around the world. If you have a question for Melissa, you can leave a voice message at melissawest.com, and Melissa may answer it in an upcoming blog.